Alright, now I'm live. Let's see. That's live and that's working. And that's live and that's working. That's wild. Let's just do this. Oh, fuck. My fingers are so fat. My god.
Hold on.
Well, I have a touchscreen on my second monitor, and I was like touching the full screen when I wanted the theater. Anyway, what's up, people? Basically, today we're just going to be doing a quick introduction of the game RevenBlade, which is a game developed by Mokazan and a couple of his closest friends and family. At its heart, it's a third-person multiplayer battle arena-style game that has a capture the point style objective. To get right into it, we basically have 6 characters to choose from. We have the archer. Oh fuck. We have the archer, the assassin, the warrior, the tank, the healer, and the mage. And each one does various different things and fits into 3 different categories. But before we get into that, I'm just going to explain the game mode real quick. When you first spawn, you spawn kind of in the back of the map. It is symmetrical down the middle. There are these towers in the middle of the map, as you can see, with this big glowing beam right through the middle. And when you stand in the circle, or within the radius of the tower, you can see that it goes down. There's a little circle on the ground that helps you show that radius is. When we stand in, it goes down. When you get out of it, it refills back up. So the goal is to try to get the tower all the way to the bottom. If an enemy is, wow, that was a big wax, but if an enemy is standing in the radius of the tower while you are, there will be no net gain, regardless of whether or not you have 2 people or 4 people or however many. As long as one person from the opposite side is in the circle, it will not get any progress. Once you capture the tower, actually I guess before we get into that, while the tower is up, so while it still has energy in it, there is this red wall on the opposing side of the map. It's kind of hard to see on Epic Graphics because the contrast isn't great, but you can clearly see it up this wall, and on the rock. When you pass over, the screen goes red, and this big laser comes down and fires on it. That's called the defenses. Each side has a defense, so if the enemy was to go onto my side, the same thing would happen. Basically, when you pass over, it tracks your movement and rains hell from above you. When you deal damage, this is a crystal. This is what you were trying to capture. There are 2 of them on each side of the map. Once you capture the second one on the side of the map, which you can vaguely see way over there, you win the game. That is the objective. Firing at this crystal or doing damage does only 19 damage. It deals, I believe, only 10% of whatever the total damage would be dealt to while this defense is up. So what you're going to do, basically, when you start, is you capture the little tower in the middle. The energy will drain. And if we look over by where the defenses are, you'll kind of see that big red shield go down. And when it does go down, the crystal takes full damage. So you can see before I was dealing 19, now I'm dealing 199, 200, anywhere above that. And the goal is simply to destroy the crystal. Once the crystal is destroyed, actually I'm going to have to capture it again because the tower went back up. After tower is captured, you have 20 seconds with the defenses are down. While those defenses are down, you can go anywhere on the other side of the map and it's just free open rain. The crystal will take full damage. Once it's destroyed, you'll gain that part of the map. The defenses will go up right down here. I know, my keyboard is out, I'm sorry. And there's a second tower here. So once you capture that first crystal, this tower opens up and you would capture this tower to go to that crystal. Mocha, if I capture the crystal, can you just help me destroy the tower? Or if I capture the tower, can you help me destroy the crystal?
Yeah, I'll do that.
The disadvantage of the way that we have to do this currently is that it takes on. How much health does the crystal have? I'm actually not sure. Okay, do you know how much health the crystal has off the top of your head?
Off the top of my head, but I can tell you that the second crystal has almost double. Maybe it's like 150%.
What the first one has? Yeah.
Exactly.
So you can see once we captured this wall went up. So now from the enemy's point of view, this is a red wall, and if they go over here, they'll be in enemy territory. You can also see that this laser is killing all of the enemies that were in the area. And this second crystal has now opened up with the big power spike thingy running above it. And when I stand in here, you can see the circle again, and it will go down. Basically, the objective just moves forward. This red wall comes up and it gets moved back, and this is the crystal to capture. Once this crystal is captured, the game will end. And if the game ends in a stalemate, which means that both, basically the game ends with neither of these two crystals being captured. So, the state of the game was the same as it was when the game started. Then whoever has captured the most crystals over the course of the game would win the game. What happens if that's a tie? Okay.
At the end of the game?
Yeah, so if it's a tie at the end of the game, then it goes to whoever captured the most crystals, and then what happens if that's a tie?
So currently the way it is, if the timer runs out, it's just a draw no matter what.
Okay.
It will be soon. It will be whoever has more crystals will win, and then tiebreaker after that, maybe more kills.
Okay, so it just
That's
go down.
not yet, but that will be relatively soon.
Yeah, I knew that there were tiebreaker mechanics in it. To go back to basically what each character does, because there are 6 characters in the game, and they all do serve different roles on a team. So I was just now playing as the archer. She's personally my favorite character. She's one of the most unique and skill-based characters. She has the highest skill cap and a very high skill floor, I think, to play effectively, especially with people that have already been playing for a long time. She has very simple abilities. Obviously, WASD to move around, mouse to aim. Her primary fire is just an arrow. It has a slight drop-off over range, I believe, which you can kind of see in the distance as it arcs downwards. She does decent damage, but does have a damage fall-off, which gets kind of sharp over time. Oh my god, the lag. She has a heavy ability, where she fires up a large arrow, and it deals, I believe, 900 damage to everybody in the radius of that circle. It does also go around corners, which is really nice. Covers more damage done to the crystals. That is a good idea to fight. So it can be shot around corners, and you can see it has a really low cooldown, so it makes consistent damage pressure really important. Her defensive ability, her defensive ability in this case is a trap. If you place it down on the ground, it's just a little trap in the grass. It can be very difficult for enemies to see. As you can see from like this angle, you can't see it at all, but from above you can see it very clearly. If an enemy steps in this, it stuns them. Archer's passive is basically that she does extra damage to stun targets. So using your traps effectively to try to get the most out of your damage is really important, and capitalizing on your ally stuns is also really important. So you can see if I put the trap down here, and Mocha runs into it, he is stunned, and if I hit him, he takes 607 damage, whereas if I hit him normally, something actually regen faster damage. Looking at heavy attacks as ultimate abilities and surprise how often you could use them. Yeah, most heavy attacks have like a 3 to 5 second cooldown, I'm pretty sure. So you can spam them pretty effectively, which makes, in my opinion, that's what makes positioning so important in this game. But you can see if I hit Mocha from this range, it's about 616 damage. If I put the trap down and he's stunned, it does 1017. So the spike in damage is like really, really huge. So making sure that you can capitalize on your allies' stuns as well as your stuns is very important. The heavy attack does deal 900 damage, and it does it fully in that radius, so it doesn't matter if you catch them on the tail end. which I didn't even. It still does the 900 damage. Archer's shift ability is the dash. It simply dashes you in a direction that you want to go. It can be used vertically. There's a lot of fun jumps that you can do on it, just like jumping up onto this roof. There's a lot of tricky escape things that you can do with the next ability, which is her invisibility. This just sends her invisible for, I think it's exactly 1 second. Is that right, Mocha?
Yeah, I think you're right, yeah.
Yeah. So she just goes invisible for exactly 1 second, but 1 second is a really long time in game world time. In my opinion, the best way to use this is to be moving in a direction, go invisible, and then dash in the other direction. Most people will assume that you keep moving in the direction and continue to fall that way, and then you put a bunch of space in between them. This comboed with your trap ability can like really give you an edge on flanking assassins, or just if you're being attacked by a warrior or another melee target. Overall, she's my favorite character in the game. She has a really high skill floor just based on the amount of time that people have already put into the game, and her skill cap is really high as well because positioning is incredibly important. Respawns are going to be a really long time, huh? Because they get longer as the game goes on. Next up is going to be the assassin, as I fall through the map. So the assassin is a high mobility flanker type character. He's the only character that has a slightly faster run speed than every other character in the game. His passive ability is that he can climb walls. So getting into vertical spaces is really easy. He has a dash ability that it's on a charge cooldown, so it has 2 charges. So I can dash once, and then within that next 0.1 seconds on the cooldown, dash again. Once again, it has like a 3 or 4 second cooldown. Is it limited to 1 trap at a time? No, it's not. So actually the cooldown on Archer's trap is something like 3 or 4 seconds, and the trap lasts 20, I think?
Yeah, it's about... So basically you can have, I think it's around 4 traps out at one time.
Yeah, at one time if you spam the ability.
But there's no like limit other than the duration the trap lasts and the cooldown in between placing traps.
Yeah. Will there be knockback ability? There actually already is a knockback ability. Is there? No, there's not anymore.
There's not currently like a push ability. There are very displacements though.
Yeah, I think because Tank used to have a knockback kind of on his dash, but
He did.
that has since been changed. So the assassin is a high mobility character. He excels at flanking, especially with like this flank route right here is very common. So if I was gonna come from the green side and attack towards where I'm going now, being able to jump up this ledge very safely is important. Because if you fall down there, you die. Is really useful, and it gives you the edge on anybody that's just now going down this ramp. He's very high mobility, has the highest run speed in the game. Like I said earlier, his dash is on 2 seconds, so you can see it's like a 0.4 second like chart. I don't really know what you call that.
About the assassin dash cooldown.
Yeah.
So it's on an energy system. So the way it works behind the scenes is it has 100 energy. Each uses 55.
Okay, so
basically, you do 2 pretty close to each other in a row, but then you have to wait longer to be able to do one again.
Okay. So yeah, that's how that works. His primary fire is entirely melee. So Archer's was ranged. His primary fire is melee. It has a kind of a long radius, as you can see. I'm pretty far away from the target. You can still hit him. Most melee abilities are like that because otherwise it just feels really bad to play against. The secondary fire is a dagger, so if you throw it, it'll mark them with that little dagger icon and slow them. Basically what Assassin does is any marked target that he has will take extra damage. So you can see I dealt 900 damage there, and normally I deal 500. So you deal an extra 400 damage, but it's percentage based, so I guess it's like 80% damage on a marked target. His defense is simply a block. It goes up like that. It just counters any ability that hits you and regains a little bit of health. So if I was going to go into this area, I would take damage. If I counter it, I don't take any damage, and I gained a little bit of health. Rip Mocha's KD.
I'll hit you with a heavy attack and you parry it, okay?
Okay. So you can see I took 0 damage there. Compared to the 900 that I took there. His heavy ability is basically a slam ability. You just come down with both of your swords and deal damage in that little circle AoE. It does 1,000 damage, which is considered like a lot of damage, especially to squishy targets such as a healer or a archer.
The assassin heavy actually does more damage the lower health the target is.
Okay, so at full HP it does 1,000 damage. And at half health it does 1230. So it's percentage based on how much health they have. If you... Basically the assassin just excels at getting in and out of situations quickly. And he has the ability to one-shot characters, squishier characters, or really burst them down quickly as it's not a true one-shot. The primary combo is just dagger, dash, and then either melee or heavy depending on the HP of the character. You can do this quite often as his cooldowns are low, but it takes 3 or 4 abilities properly lined up, and it can be very risky, especially if that team is properly kiting for their teammates. So it's very easy to stun an assassin during any of those times. So on an archer, it would be dagger, dash, melee, and then heavy ability. That's the most efficient way to play. It will get you lots of kills if the other team is uncoordinated, but it can be, it can be defended and played around just by proper positioning and team play. What's the variation in HP between characters? If I had to put it on a scale, low HP is archer and healer, medium HP is assassin and warrior, and then, well, what's the other character I'm missing?
Actually,
Assassin, warrior, tank has
Assassin has less HP than archer currently, I'm pretty sure.
Really? Okay, I didn't know that.
I think healer might be slightly below that. So, with that said, though, archer, assassin, healer, mage, even, they're all pretty close to the same HP. And then warrior has a decent amount more, and tank has
the most.
For double.
Yeah, tank. I know tank has a ton of HP. But there are quite a few squishy characters. I just knew that warrior and tank had the most. But yeah, overall, Assassin is at heart a combo character, so if you like playing combo characters, then Assassin's right up your alley. Really fast-moving, ability to deal a lot of damage quickly. Whee! What's up next? Mage is up next, I think. These are all, I'm doing all of the damage dealers first. Basically, they're classified into 3 groups, in my opinion. You have the damage dealers, which would be archer, assassin, mage, and then you have your damage absorbers, which would be tank, and then you have your utility characters, which would be healer and warrior. What was the purple glow on you? When you get a certain amount of kills, you basically get like a slight increase in damage, and it's it's identified by the purple.
For every kill after 3 in a row, I think it is, you get a I think it's 20% bonus damage buff for like 45 seconds.
Mocha, can you move 1 or 2, ideally 2 of the characters just somewhere over here?
Of the red?
Yeah, on the red team, from my perspective. So, mage is the AoE damage dealer of the group. She fires a 3-round burst of missiles, just like that. They're on a slight delay, so you can kind of aim them separately. Can you?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, you can. Okay. I was like, I thought you could, but I don't play mage a lot. So you can't aim them separately like that. That's her primary fire. Her secondary fire is... Actually, I'll wait until Mocha sets up to show you that one. Oh, okay, he's here. So her primary fire, she's 3 bursts. Each one does 150 damage constant. So it's very good on stationary targets, but it can be really hard to hit all 3 on motion targets, which means that once again, coordinating with your archer, or just making sure that you go on stun targets is actually really important for mage. Her secondary fire is just a stun, so if I fire it, you can see it says stunned above him, and it just does a flat 400 damage. Not a lot, not too little. Her heavy ability is basically a massive circle that explodes, and it marks targets similar to assassins. So you can see it blow up. It does 850 damage, and they all get marked with this little circle. These two circles do two things depending on whether or not you use your primary or secondary ability. If you use your primary ability, the bullet bounces from player to player and does extra damage. It's 300 extra damage? Yeah, 300 extra damage on the bounce. So you deal 150 and then you would deal 450 if it's a marked target. If it's a marked target and you use your stun, they're stunned for longer. So you can see how long that stun was compared to that. It's almost double the time. It's either 2 or 2.5 times the length of the stun. Her dash is a short-range teleport. Technically, it's coded as a quick dash, but it's just a very fast teleport. It's just useful for repositioning. Are you gonna reprogram this to be more like a teleport with an invincibility frame?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, it'll be functionally pretty close to the same.
Yeah.
But I'll as time goes on, I keep doing small visual improvements in general to the characters.
Yeah. Because right now it is just technically a quick dash, but there's it could be changed. It's basically meant to be a very quick teleport. It's on a short cooldown, so you can use it quite often. But it's long enough that if you get caught out like by an assassin or just enemies diving on you, it can be really dangerous for you. Your defensive is an ice block. You basically just go into a block of ice and you're immune to damage and stuns. You cannot use any abilities and you cannot move, and it has a very long cooldown. So using it can be very risky, especially if you're in enemy lines and you use it, because once you've used that, especially if you used it after a dash, like if you dash ice block, then like you're stuck there for another 4 seconds after you use your dash before you can do anything. So once again, positioning and using it wisely is really important to staying alive. Overall, I usually choose her when we're defending on the last point because everybody bunches up around that crystal, and the ability to just use your heavy ability on the crystal and then hit one of them and deal almost half of somebody's health nearly instantly is really good for defending. She brings a little bit more utility, though, in my opinion, to the archer, as she has the stun ability and more of a zoning potential with her heavy ability, because it's a fear. Like, you take a lot of damage if you're marked and then hit. Overall, though, she's fun to play. She has a dash, but not my cup of tea. I love that you just fall through the map when you die. You don't even kill you. Like, next up is the damage absorber. So that's just tank. He's the only damage absorber currently in the game. I believe there's plans for 5 more.
So the current 6 classes there are in the game, those are the kind of 6 distinct like class types that we'll have, and we're aiming at having 3 of each of those types of classes in the initial release. So 3 assassins, 3 healers, 3 tanks, etc.
Oh, Mangus, I'm glad there's a lot of stuff you didn't know. That was the intention of this video, because it's like deceptively simple on the surface, but there's a lot of intricacies to it that I want to explain before the playtest so that people get a better idea of how the game works. So tank is the only damage absorber, as I would classify it. Basically a tank if you're used to Overwatch or basically any other class-based game. His melee ability is similar to Assassin, does a little less damage, but same idea. It pushes targets out of the way and has a relatively long range, just so it feels nice. On his RMB is his wall, just a wall that comes up wherever you're aiming at it. This is by far, in my opinion, one of the most overpowered abilities. It's not actually overpowered, but it's insanely fun and useful. The ability to block off almost an entire choke at will is crazy powerful, especially for pushing objectives and positioning. As I said earlier, positioning is like really important in this game, and a lot of people don't play around it as much as I think they should. But like the ability to push this crystal and just wall heal it with allowing you to free attack is insanely strong. basically it's on release is when it goes up. So if you press it down, it brings up this little UI menu, or UI, so you can see where you're going to place the wall. And then on release, it goes up. You can stand on the wall. It's kind of buggy right now. Oh fuck. But you can stand on it and dash on top of it and stuff like that. So it can be useful too for like if you're down there. I believe you can get to on top of this ridge area just from the bottom using it. Yeah. So there's a couple of movement tricks that you can do as well that make it kind of useful, kind of fun to play around with. That's his secondary ability. His dash ability is on shift. Basically, you just dive up into the air, and then you come down on the enemies and stun anybody that you land on. It doesn't deal a lot of damage, but Tank's not like designed around doing damage. He's designed around disruption and absorbing damage. It's on a relatively short cooldown. Well, actually I lied. It's on a 10-second cooldown. Holy shit. I gotta play more Tank. But its impact is very big, especially on like class point objective, like I was saying with Mage, where the damage that you do can be really important. Diving into like the objective can be insane. It's an insane mobility tool. It allows you to get, I think it's the second highest vertical reaching ability in the game after Warrior, but you can get to almost anywhere on the map using it. His heavy ability is a hook. So you throw out your chain and you hook somebody towards you. It stuns them during this time, and there's a lot of cool combos that you can do with this. Comboing this into any heavy ability is really good, and it feels really good to hook somebody and have them stunned and then just instantly get blown up. But one of the best things that you can do is just hook, and when they're in, you can wall them. That's spazzed out. But hooking and walling them prevents them from getting away very easily. So if I wait for my secondary again, you can hook. Oh, I'm bad. You can hook the target and then wall behind them. And as you can see, if this healer was playing, she wouldn't really have anywhere to go to escape, and you could just melee your job. His heavy ability doesn't actually have a visual indicator, but it decreases damage taken by 50%. So it's basically just like a simple defensive ability that can be very powerful, especially if timed right. Like if you're low HP and you time that against an assassin, that can be a game changer between you living and dying and your healer being able to save you. So there's a lot of skill potential with Tank. He's currently, I think, the buggiest character in the game. But he is a lot of fun to play and has a high skill cap. Also, Mocha, I don't know if you know this, but if you jump and then use your dash, it doesn't work and just goes on cooldown.
Yeah, there's some bugs around it. We're spending some time reworking his kit the past couple weeks, so there's some bugs with that.
So you actually, I shouldn't have done this because I can show you. You actually can't cliff hook because when you pull him, it automatically puts you in front of him where he was. So like Roadhog, you can actually hook and then rotate 90 degrees to pull the character off, and it will pull the character through you. You can't do that with Tank.
Yeah, with Tank, you'd have to suicide and then hook.
Yeah, to do it. Up next is Healer, the first of the utility. I wonder if Tank will ever stop getting his kick. Yeah, that's a meme. Healer is the first utility class in my opinion. She has a very basic kit, a very high skill cap kit, and she's a lot of fun to play. Her mobility is insane, and the awareness that you need to play her properly is second to none. I would arguably say that between her and Archer, she has a higher skill cap. She has a chakra that returns back to you like a boomerang. It does 2 instances of damage. It does 1 when it goes through and 1 when it comes back. So if you time it right and get your distance correct, you can deal almost 700 damage instantly, as it just hits right on the edge. Getting this range down is like really, really important to maximizing Healer's damage. And there's a lot of other nifty things you can do. For instance, it bounces off of terrain near you. Apparently not lampposts, but bounces off of terrain near you, meaning that you can increase your attack speed and the damage that you do just by aiming at certain parts. So like if I stand here, it takes a long time for the chakra to get back, but you can maximize your damage by standing directly next to it and it will return to you quicker. Her shift is a dash. It actually gives the dash increase to anybody that's near you, which makes her really good for pushing any point, especially in the beginning of the game. Like if you don't have a healer in the beginning of the game and the other team does, then they get they get to the point a good 2 seconds before you do. So if you can see, if I press dash, all of them get that little bubble. That just means that their movement speed is increased. Her heavy ability is basically just a AoE heal. So it's on like a charge base, so you can see it like almost builds up around her, this little part, and then it explodes. On that explode, it heals everybody for how much healing does it do? It does a lot of healing.
For like the regular health characters, so other than tank, it does, I think, over half their health in one, like, instantly.
Yeah. It's insane if you have a healer that's like next to you when an assassin gets comboed, and it's one of the most frustrating feelings as an assassin is to like almost combo somebody down and then a healer just instantly brings them back to full health. It's very unfun to play against, but it's like the skill required for a healer to actually time it correct because it's on a little like charge is worth it in my opinion. Her defense is a little shield. You can see on the bottom health bar, it has that little blue shield that pops up. That's just damage that can get absorbed, basically. So it's free health. If her secondary ability, I probably should have brought this up before the shield, but her secondary ability links you to a character, so you can see this link. Any damage that you do will heal them, as well as they get a passive healing of some, what's the HPS, do you know, the heal per second?
I don't know the specific number, but it's pretty slow. It'd probably take like 10 seconds to fully heal somebody.
Yeah, I knew it was low. I don't know how low it is, but the tether does go through walls, and it has a fairly long range. But it keeps.
Yeah, we can demo that healing quick.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a pretty long time.
Now attack me.
Well, you can see how much quicker it goes up just by attacking him. Oh, I didn't mean to kill you. If you're linked to somebody and you press alternate fire again, it just tries to link you to the closest person. And if you're not aiming towards anybody that it deems the closest person, it gets rid of the link. The link is really important. Managing your link is really hard to do, especially in hectic team fights, because you're always trying to choose the character that you think is going to die the quickest to stop them from dying. If you are linked to somebody and you use your defensive ability, they also get the shield, which you can see by that little white on the health bar. So, like, trying to time your shield for when an assassin might try to use their heavy or an archer use their heavy, once again, can be the difference between somebody dying and somebody living. So, healer definitely has the most micromanagement out of any character, but I think that's what makes her really fun and one of the highest skill cap characters in the game, if not the highest skill cap character in the game. Between her chakra range and having to, try to figure out what the range is, linking characters and trying to remember which character is linked, and just proper timing of all of her abilities. Her passive ability is a double jump. Not very flashy, but it gets the job done. It allows her to get into a lot of unique places quickly that other characters can't. Like, even if I wanted to get up onto this ledge, I can do that as a healer basically whenever I want, where an archer has to waste a cooldown, a healer or a mage has to waste a cooldown, and a healer does not, which makes you really good at just getting the high ground advantage and trying to use that to aim down on people, which is always a lot better than aiming up. Additionally, it gives them a better vantage point to try to link people and just see the fight overall, which, for somebody that's trying to micromanage an entire team is really important. The next character is Warrior. He's definitely the character, well, I guess Tank's the character I have the least experience on, but Warrior is the second character that I had the least experience on. He is the second utility character, and he's primarily a damage dealer, but all of the other damage dealers deal damage in an ability. Warrior is the only one that sole purpose of the ability is not to deal damage, which is why I classified him as a utility. If I really could, I'd classify him as a brawler, but I kind of wanted to keep the classifications simple. That's why there's only 3 as opposed to like 6 or 8, which I think technically there's 6. but they're more specific, and I wanted to keep this video broader. So Warrior's primary attack, just like every other melee character, is just a simple swing. I think it does 400 damage on a strike, if I'm not mistaken. 600 damage, so it does quite a bit of damage on a strike, but still can easily be kited and take a lot of damage. He slows down when moving or when attacking. Assassin does not. So it means that kiting Warrior is a lot easier than kiting an Assassin. His shift ability is an insanely long dash on a 3.5 second cooldown, which is really short, which means that mobility as Warrior is key. You can basically fly anywhere instantly on the map. He has the highest mobility in the game.
The Warrior can also be redirected mid-flight.
Oh shit. Look at that. You can do fucking U-turns and juke people out. I'm jumping off the map. No, I'm not. That's sick. His secondary ability is a spear that you throw. Basically just grounds the opponent. What grounding is you cannot use your dash or your jump ability. So Mocha, if you could just jump and dash on Archer real quick. So you can see you dash, and he can obviously jump. If I throw the spear at him and ground him, he can now no longer do either of those things. You're gonna have to take my word for it because you can't see his keyboard, but it's a ridiculously powerful ability. You don't realize how much you spam jump or how much you dash until you get grounded and can no longer jump or dash. It's one of the most frustrating abilities to play against, but it's what makes Warrior such a useful character to have on your team. His defense is currently identical to Assassin. It's going to be changed, but it just blocks an ability and then heals you for some of the damage. So, if I take damage, it deals damage. And if I block, which I mistimed, it heals me for a little bit and blocks all of the damage. And his heavy ability is probably one of my favorite abilities in the game, despite the fact that Warrior is one of my least played characters. But basically you do like a little jump, and you stun a character and bring them closer to you. It's on a really short cooldown, like 5 seconds, which is why I think it's so awesome, because it's pretty easy to deal damage, and as another character, just when a Warrior's attacking, you get kited. But an ability that's on a 5 second cooldown can easily be, like, actually Mocha, just run away from me as I attack you. That way.
Which way?
Yeah, but like, you can see I only got one hit in before I even attack. And it's really hard for me to catch.
The Warrior Heavy will stun anybody in an area around you.
Yeah, it's that little circle that briefly shows up will stun and bring them closer to you. It's very brief, so it's kind of hard to see. But the reason that I like it so much is because of the fact that it brings it closer to you. So it means that keeping people from cutting away from you is a lot easier, because you can attack, instantly stun, and that range will go basically by the time that they move a little bit. If you catch them by surprise, you'll be able to get them in that range and bring them back towards you. Personally, I think that Warrior is more of a utility character than a damage dealer. He brings grounded to the table, which is huge, and an extra stun, which for characters like Mage or Archer is really good. But his actual damage output is just really easy to be kited. That's the reason that I think he's more utility. His dash is easily the best movement ability in the game. You can go literally anywhere all the time, which means that he's incredibly hard to kill, but he doesn't really finish kills. He doesn't really get kills. Overall, you know, the game is played 4v4, so you can only have 4 of these characters on your team, and choosing the right 4 is really important. For instance, if you wanted to have an Archer on your team, then synergizing around that Archer with a Mage or a tank, which also stun characters, is a really good idea, because capitalizing on the Archer's extra damage will increase your DPS and secure you guys more kills. Whereas you could choose to go more melee focused with a Warrior Assassin, where the Warrior tries to stun people while the Assassin finishes them off. So even with 6 characters in the game, there's already synergies that you guys can look out for and try to play around. And this is all only possible with good communication and good positioning. And I know I've been stressing that this entire time, but good communication and good positioning is the key to being good at any video game, and I think it's especially true in RevenBlade. We've played some games with bad communication, just like pubs and messing around. And honestly, the gameplay gets so much better when you play with 4 people on each side that are both determined to win and coordinate effectively with a good team comp. It becomes a lot more fun to play, and it feels good whenever you make a play, whenever you get more kills or successfully pull off a combo. Other than that, RevenBlade is deceptively simple. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy it, otherwise I would not be making this video on it. I would not have spent probably like 100 hours playing already, despite the game being in fucking alpha, if you could even call it alpha. Yeah, Mocha, you have any points? Is there anything that I missed?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good overview. The game is pretty low time to kill. We try to have it be fast-paced combat. It's heavily outplay based, which you can, I think, kind of get a sense from the abilities. So there's a lot of dodging and parrying. So I think other than that, you gave a pretty good description of the game.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing just going on the outplay and the fast TT kill is that at its heart, this is, in my opinion, closer to Overwatch than a shooter, only because it's incredibly ability based. The gameplay is completely different than Overwatch, so don't try to get that idea. But in Overwatch, abilities are really important, and in RevenBlade, because every ability is on like a 2-second or 5-second or less cooldown, most abilities, using abilities to its maximum effectiveness makes the game really fast paced, really low time to kill, and just makes positioning and stuff incredibly important. Knowing what's happening at all times is important, and that can be, difficult for newer players to understand, which is why, just watching this video, hopefully you get a better idea of what abilities do, how they affect the enemies and yourself, like just Archer going invisible and how long you're going invisible. Whereas if you're Assassin, all of a sudden the Archer disappears, you have no idea what's going on. But yeah, it's really fun. Hopefully I see you guys tomorrow at the playtest. I'll be there, Moko will be there, Sharpie, who's another dev, should be there. There'll be plenty of people if you guys have any questions, or if you have any questions now, I can answer them. Oh, fuck. Oh, Mocha, the bug just happened. There's a bug on Archer where you get a hit sound but no damage, and no damage show up, and you don't deal any damage. But it just happened on Mocha. I promise.
Yep. There's like some no-reg issue looking into at the moment.
Yeah. Oh, I'm done. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. Otherwise, I'm just gonna hop off and go to sleep as my dog knocks at my door very politely. Jimoko, 1v1 me up top. I'm rotating.
Okay.
I want to see. Oh, hi.
Up here?
Yeah, on your go though, because you have position. Oh, so it should be on my go. Fuck it. I jumped off. I'm good at the game, no worry. Alright, on a 30-second respawn, I'm going to disconnect. Thank you guys for watching. This is going to be edited and uploaded to YouTube, so that newer players can always just have a video to go to and learn. So if there's anything that I missed or that you guys think should be in, you can message me on Discord. I'm a Panda Sniper. I'm in the Discord all the time. Otherwise, thank you guys. Hope you guys have a wonderful day.